Hey, what's happening, guys? This is Eben here, and today I wanted to go over a quick lesson I did with a student concerning creating cinematic lighting in your painting. Now, a common issue I see in a lot of beginner paintings is they don't really know how to set up the lighting in their scene to really make it look nice. They might have a really good composition or whatever, but they just aren't using the lighting dynamics to their full potential. So that's what we're going to dive into today, and if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's dive right in. So the first thing I'm kind of seeing with this that jumps out to me is the source of the lighting and the angle of the lighting hitting this character. Based on the context and where he's positioned in this environment, this rim light makes sense to me, what you've done around here and around the edge. This here doesn't so much. I think the solution here is basically we divide this character into two sections, and basically everything from this edge backwards, maybe a little bit over here, this is all getting hit with one light source. And then everything on this side is being hit with another sort of slightly less intense ambient cool light source. So we can start with, I would say start with a baseline of shadow, and this is just sort of how I would go about doing this, and you can preserve your original design to whatever extent you want, but I'm going to go in here and just anywhere that seems like a little bit brightly blown out. I'm actually just kind of taking this shadow color, I'm just going to bring it back to sort of a baseline. And then from there, you can begin to sort of sculpt things out, sort of build them up gradually. This is another thing I've been experimenting with too, is actually using lower opacity brushes and doing a bit more of a slow build when it comes to lighting. Going in just, fairly softly and not creating anything really super dynamic, because again, we're dealing with ambient light here. So we want to make sure that we're building things up so that the point on whatever object this is, like imagine this is a sphere or something, the point that is most directly facing that light source is going to be receiving the brightest light. And that's where we can take liberties as artists and say, I want to dial up the intensity of this ambient light source a little bit. And it's, it can still remain an ambient light source because of how it's being distributed. In fact, an ambient light source, if we dial it up enough, you'll be able to show a lot more clear detail of the design, because it will sort of hit a lot more areas more evenly. And especially because this is a white object, so it's going to be picking up a lot of that. We're still able to show a lot about this design. It's just we've reworked how the light is hitting that space, and we've reworked sort of the intensity of that light source. And we can go in and just anywhere we're on this clothing or anything where it's sort of facing that general direction, can start to dial it up a little bit. And actually, I would probably want to go a little bit darker and cooler with or at least darker with the furs. Because again, we're kind of want to keep in mind that sort of color equation of what's the local color sort of multiplied by the light source. You don't want to go too blue, so we can go in here and create some more shadows, keep it a little bit darker, but still generally keep it in the cool range of things. We can even add some little reflective elements here. Like you've already sort of hinted at it a little bit. We'll just take that light source color and just throw it in little points here and there to show higher reflectivity, and that's a great way to draw attention to that unique detail of this character. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive because, like you said, like I gotta show this character's face, but he's in shadow. But we can use these kind of, we can just dial up that ambient light a little bit more, so we can show what we want to show here, and then we can continue to develop that rim light a little bit. I love what you've done here already. All this fur, I'm going to bring the opacity back up to 100. All this fur is a great opportunity to show that rim light. It's going to really pick it up. Could even use a brush like this. I'm just varying the edge a little bit to just show the texture of the hair too. And we could even go back here as well. And this is just going to help silhouette the character even more. Anyway, there are a few other opportunities to incorporate that light source back there if we want to take some of these areas on the clothing and just give them a little bit of direct light here. But yeah, and actually, we can continue to build this up quite a bit and like include, a fair amount of custom detail up here. And, all these places where, if they're really, important elements of the clothing or the character design or anything, we can go in here with our sort of, our ambient light. I'm going to dial it down a little bit down here, but if we build it up slowly, we can get some really interesting, subtle stuff. We can add some little accent colors if they're like little buttons or something. Throw in a few little reflective bits here and there, or maybe there's a fold that kind of comes a little bit closer to the light source direction, so it gets a little bit brighter. There's a lot of little subtle stuff you can do there. For this area here, there's we don't have to get rid of this detail, but I would just sort of reduce the value range a little bit and just again, we can keep it as a little bit more of a silhouette for the most part. But more importantly, I think I want to take into account, because we've now incorporated it more strongly into the character, I want to increase this warm, cool contrast that we're developing. And snow, especially as another white, base white object, is going to pick up a lot of those cool tones from the sky. So if I had this on a separate layer, I would probably do this maybe with a color balance or something, but it actually might be better. We might preserve a little bit more of our color variety if we do it this way. But basically, anywhere where this snow is in shadow, I'm just going to incorporate a little bit of blue here. This over here, this is interesting because these steps we'll probably be picking up a fair amount of bounce light from the snow. We can keep that sort of warm toned like you have it. But especially anything that's facing upward and just generally things that are in shadow, if we start, using some of that cool blue, it's really gonna liven things up quite a bit.